You're listening to On the Docket.
Hi, my name is Odiot. For those who don't know me, I'm a partner here at Napoli Shkolnik, and I am super excited to be doing this first episode for this podcast and having this conversation with my colleague and my friend, Veronica Vázquez, with whom I've been working for the past 6, 7 years on environmental litigation. And talking about, and we're going to be talking about a very important topic, something that we do every single day, which is toxic torts, right? And all the chemicals that have been, our clients have been negligently exposed to, right? So, Veronica, how do you feel about doing this and talking about this and inaugurating this great podcast?
So my name is Veronica Vázquez. I'm a senior attorney in Napoli Shkolnik. I feel very excited, very happy to be here, especially because I'm having this conversation with you. This is something we always have been talking about behind the scenes since the past couple of 5, 6 years.
Exactly.
So this is a great place. I love the set, and I'm super excited for having this conversation and being able to share some important information with the people that are going to be viewing this episode. So let's talk about PFAS. Did you know, and I know you do, that 99% of U.S. residents have PFAS in their blood?
Yes, that's horrifying. And I first learned that when I first started working on this type of litigation, and the fact that 99% of Americans have PFAS in their blood is scary. It's scary. And it even made me do some changes in my life, like change cookware and use less products that have PFAS and filter my water, etc. Because, as you know, PFAS are related to horrible diseases such as cancer, liver damage, developmental problems, and the fact that 99% of Americans carry this in our blood, it's scary. You can find PFAS in cookware, in carpets, in firefighting foam, in cosmetics, in things that we use every single day. So it's scary. And I think that our work and our duty as attorneys to our clients is to guide them through the process of acknowledging this, and if they suffer any injury because of this exposure, guiding them through litigation and all of that. But I know that PFAS is it's not the only chemical that people have been negligently exposed to. I know lead is also something that many Americans have been exposed to, and 50% of children in America have lead in their system, and I think the statistic is 1.9 have high lead levels in their blood, and scientists and medical professionals have said that there is no safe level of lead in the human body. So, what do you have to say about that and the litigation that we have been doing in representation of these clients?
So that for me is shocking. It's shocking because lead is something we have been hearing from the 60s, the 70s, when we had
Yes.
the lead paints,
Exactly.
your grandmother in your house telling you, don't eat the wall or something.
Exactly.
Yeah, when you were 2 years old as a toddler. So I was shocked. I felt deeply responsible for our clients, for the people who have suffered and reach out to us for some help. Especially, lead is a contaminant that affects adults, elderly people, and children in different ways. But it mostly affects children, and having lead poisoning, children having lead poisoning could mean that they will develop a cognitive problem, ADHD. It has been proven to show that they have lower IQ through
Correct.
their years.
Correct.
So we're talking about damaging the future of a person, of a children who is going to be an adult, of a family, of a community. So I felt very, very urged to help these peoples against these corporations and the government
Correct.
that were exposing them to lead now in 2025.
And you make a great point because what we often see is that communities that have been negligently exposed to these type of chemicals, like lead, for example, in the cases that we're litigating, are communities that are either minorities or underprivileged. So it makes our work even more important to be the voice for these people. And to guide them through this litigation and get them the compensation that they deserve for the damages that they have suffered. I mean, having kids that were not able to develop the brains correctly because they were exposed to lead is something that is deeply horrifying and not fair, right? So being able to, through our legal knowledge, help them in this process has been key, and I know that for both of us has been our drive these past years.
Yes, no, I agree. It's very meaningful. I feel such deep empathy because I have three
I know,
girls.
exactly.
So as a mother, you want to provide the best for your children. If you have low resources, you don't have, you're from a minority community with lower resources, a single mother, that's what we've seen
Yeah.
in this type of cases. You want to provide the best that you can for your
Yeah.
children. So living, for example, in East Chicago, in the West Calumet project, that's something we're going to talk about later. You as a mother want to provide a safe roof, food, education to your children, and knowing that the place that you're providing to your children, they're going to be exposed to lead since they're in the womb is shocking.
It is shocking, and it's textbook. What we're doing is textbook environmental justice, which is something that I deeply admire about our work, and the things that we do every day, and I think that it's what drives not only you and me, but our entire team to represent these communities and to win these cases.
So, Coral, we were talking about PFAS, how they are in 99% of the blood of U.S. residents, but we didn't have the chance to explain what PFAS are. Can you talk a little bit more about what PFAS are?
Sure thing. So PFAS are also known as forever chemicals, and they are known as forever chemicals because they do not biodegrade. So once they are in the environment, they are there forever. And getting rid of them is very expensive, especially in water. For example, public water systems need to spend a lot of money installing treatments such as GAC, which is granulated activated carbon treatment system, and it's very expensive, right? So where can we find PFAS? We can find PFAS almost everywhere, in non-stick cookware, in firefighting foam, in cosmetics, and in carpeting, in fabrics. So we're constantly being exposed to these type of chemicals, and that is scary. And the main reason why 99% of Americans have it in their blood. So in a nutshell, that is what PFAS are.
That's very concerning, knowing that they don't biodegrade, they are in our blood, they are in the environment. This is a problem that we are working to solve the best way we can, and it's a public health issue.
It is a public health issue, and it's also an international issue, because it's not only in the U.S. There are studies that have found PFAS in the blood of polar bears in Mount Everest. So it's something that is global. And we're, as a matter of fact, we're also litigating a case against this PFAS manufacturers in Europe. We recently filed a case against one of the PFAS manufacturers, 3M, in the Netherlands, representing a group or association of fishermen that have been impacted because the fish and everything that they fish in the Scheldt River has been contaminated with PFAS, and now they cannot sell and everything that entails. So with this, I say this is not an issue that's only in the U.S. It's something that's international, which is even more concerning. It's affecting the public health of the entire world, literally.
That's very interesting and very concerning, like I said, knowing that it affects the health, the environment, and it's an economical burden
Yeah.
in certain industries. That's shocking, and it's something we need to keep going and working towards too.
Yeah.
And I know,
Definitely.
and I know that you not only have been working with PFAS, I know that you're working with a newer chemical that it's in our radar right
Yeah.
now. So can you talk about what microplastics are?
Yes, microplastics, we believe, are the next PFAS. Not every, for example, this is not something that not everyone is testing for right now, but the same thing happened with PFAS 10 years ago. Nobody knew what they were, and when we met with public water systems, they did not know what PFAS were. Something similar happened. It's happening with microplastics, but microplastics are basically very small particles, 5 millimeters in size, and they usually appear or are created because they come from bigger plastics, single-use plastics like bottles and plastic bags, etc. So this problem is twofold, right? It creates nuisance for municipalities and counties and states because they spend a lot of money cleaning for microplastics, for plastics in everywhere in the environment. And the second issue is a health issue, which is developing right now. The science right now, as it happened with PFAS 10 years ago, it's developing. So now scientists are studying how exposure to microplastics can affect our health. One thing that we do know now is that microplastics have been found in the brain of people. So how this affects our health, it's on the way. But I see it rapidly moving forward as something that is going to create a lot of litigation. And Napoli Shkolnik was one of the lead firms that filed one of the first microplastics, single-use plastic cases, and cigarette filters cases for this in representation of the city of Baltimore. So like we were in PFAS, which we were one of the first firms to start doing this, we're also doing it with microplastics, and I believe it will create the same momentum.
And hopefully, we will see something that we saw with PFAS partially. What we have seen is manufacturing corporations and other manufacturing corporations. They want to keep the contaminants under the rug. They don't want to be exposed. They don't want anybody to know it. I think we're a very important part of this big fight, environmental fight, because we are bringing in light what's happening. We're identifying, oh, this is present in the water. We're consuming this water, and we need to expose this. And what we have seen is that science drives towards that, and policy and regulations. And it's very important what we're doing here, not only for our clients, but for those who aren't our clients.
Yeah. I think we're talking about accountability, and how important it is for us to continue this type of litigation, because it pushes companies to respect the environment and to be careful with the things that they're throwing to the environment, and it also creates momentum in public agencies to regulate.
Yes.
A couple of years ago, PFAS were not regulated. Type of litigation and the momentum it created, and everything that happened with the settlements and everything else created regulations or pushed the EPA to regulate.
Yeah.
As a matter of fact, last year, PFOA and PFOS were identified or as hazardous substances under CERCLA, which is great for plaintiffs, right? For people that have been that have been negligently exposed to this type of chemicals. So definitely litigation does not only help our clients, but it also helps public health and everything that relates to it. So, Veronica, we've talked about PFAS and we've talked about microplastics. What about lead? What can you tell us about lead?
So lead is a natural occurring heavy metal. It's present naturally in the environment, and you can find it in certain lands that have been used, for example, by lead smelter, any type of manufacturing corporations that are manipulating lead. You can find that in the soil. You can find that in the air. Not too much because it's very heavy, but you can find certain amount of lead in the air. So in the 60s, in the 70s, there was no regulation for lead. It was not in the radar of people and regulators, and lead was used in, for example, paint. So houses were painted with lead.
That is crazy.
When the agencies and the public health agencies began to investigate the lead levels in the blood of people, they realized that people had crazy high levels of lead in their body. So they began to regulate and to investigate where the lead was coming. They realized some was environment from lead and other sources, and regulations came to place. So that's why I told in the beginning it's shocking to know this is an issue in 2025 and it's still happening because it's something that is not like PFAS, that it's just in the light for a couple of years. This has been in the light, and people and agencies have been aware of this for decades. So the issue with lead is that if it's inhaled or ingested by children, for example, they can develop cognitive, neurological, and other type of problems, asthma, for example, and they can be exposed since they're in the womb. In adults, it can cause organ damage. For example, it can cause kidney damage, anemia, nausea, migraines. Imagine living in a place that is filled with lead and being exposed every single day. You cannot function. Even with migraines, it sounds so not harmful, like, oh, it's a migraine. Imagine something that is affecting your day-to-day.
Yeah, it is lead poisoning.
Yes.
At the end of the day.
How can you work having a migraine every single day because you're being exposed every single day by this contaminant?
Yeah.
So that's lead in a nutshell. There's a lot of information out there about lead. One of the information that shocked me the most is that the way lead behaves once you inhale or ingested lead, it works as calcium in the body. It travels through the body as calcium. So it lingers in the body for 30 to 120 days, and then it gets into the bones and into teeth, and it stays there.
Yeah.
And if you, for example, you get a blood test and you've been exposed once, and that once was 30 days ago, the lead level in the blood is going to come negative back.
Yeah.
But it's in your bones, and it's shocking to know that if you as a mother were exposed in your early childhood, once you're an adult and you have your lead that is living in your bones, and you get pregnant, the body releases calcium to create the baby, and it releases as well the lead, and you can contaminate your children, your fetus with lead when you create the
Yeah,
baby in the womb.
that is crazy.
Once I learned that, and I have learned other things about that, but once I learned, and it was so shocking that an exposure in early childhood can affect directly generations
Yeah.
of families.
And we learned that and it's so important. The science is so important. And we learned that in representing some of our clients in the East Chicago case that were exposed when they were kids.
Yes.
And obviously if you take a blood test now, 10 years have passed, you don't have lead in your blood anymore, but you do have it in your bones. So we talked to experts that were able to help us out with that and do bone lead testing and they found that yes, these people have lead poisoning because they have lead in their bones, and that is the reason why so many of these kids have developmental issues. They have lower IQs, and they have had so many issues growing up and just functioning in life.
And that's very interesting that you're mentioning the X-ray fluorescence for testing the bone for lead. This is something our experts are doing and the science is doing and progressing on. It's fairly new, but it's a way, because how are you going to prove a case that you were exposed to lead 30 years ago, and the lead only lives in the blood for 30 to 120 days? How are you going to prove that? Well, you have ways, but what better way than we are doing this XRF X-rays in the bone to detect historical level leads, so we can go past to 30 years and know for 30 years how long you have been exposed to lead.
Yeah,
it's amazing.
And that's another topic, how plaintiffs attorneys need to be on top of this new science and these new procedures that can help us prove our cases. I mean, this is expensive and this is complicated, but again, this is textbook environmental justice, and we're here for it, and we have the resources, and we're representing our clients in very complicated scenarios the best way possible.
So we talk about the nitty-gritty technical details of these chemicals. We talk about the health effects, but we haven't touched on the human part of what we do. Do you have any stories that you can share? I know attorney-client privilege is playing here, but do you have in mind any story or in general stories that are touch you when working?
Yeah, sure thing. And yes, what we do is very complicated. What we do is complex litigation at its best. So oftentimes it's difficult for clients to understand first the topics that we litigate about, and how long it takes for this litigation to go, right? But I think that, like I've said before, representing communities that are underprivileged, etc., is important. But I will talk about specifically about Nápoles-Kolník representing members of the National Rural Water Association. These are small public water systems that serve rural communities in the United States that oftentimes don't have the resources to take on this type of litigation. And Nápoles-Kolník stepped up, and we became their legal representative, and we represent hundreds of them. And we did that in the AFFF multi-district litigation, through the litigation, obviously, and through the settlement process. And as you know, the settlement process in the AFFF MDL was very complicated as well. Yeah. The allocation procedures were very complicated. The formula is super complicated. And filing and submitting claims forms for class members, which most of these NRWA members were, was very difficult for them. Gathering the documents, gathering the information that they needed, water flow rates, for example. Not every single rural water system gathered flow rates. That's something that usually bigger public water systems with resources do. So we stepped in and we helped them gather that information, and we got them some compensation to remediate their PFAS problem, because as bigger public water systems have PFAS problems, rural public water systems also suffer from the same. So we were able to help them out, and that is so satisfying. And as you know, we usually every year attend their national conference to continue our conversations and educate them about PFAS and other types of contaminants. And it is so satisfying to have conversations with these people, and they're so grateful for the work that we're doing, and for us being able to help them out in this process, because like I said, they simply don't have the resources. They're very, very small systems that serve smaller communities. So I think that's my story, right? I bet you do have other stories of your own that you can also share with us.
Yes, I'm gonna talk in general because this is an ongoing litigation, but stories about families are the ones that really touch me, and especially with kids, because I have kids. I feel this empathy. I can put myself into their shoes,
Sure,
in some way. So I think that the history that I'm hearing from every client, it's the same one. I don't have the resources. I'm a single mother, I live here with my 3 children, and my mom and my dad lives here. So we have elderly people in a house. We have the mother, we have the children, and these are people, residents that are living in a low-income facility. And I'm talking specifically about the West Calumet complex,
right.
that was demolished in East Chicago, Indiana. So that is one case that have impacted me so much, knowing that everyone was exposed so blatantly, that there was corruption involved from the government. There were kickbacks for the construction of the complex, that they knew that there was a lead smelter in that land where they constructed low-income houses for families.
Yeah, this is a high-profile case, and it's horrible.
And it's very sad, and I feel, the urge to help them, because these families have been destroyed, have been impacted by this contamination in so many ways, and they need us. They need someone that gives them the confidence to keep going and keep fighting to get at least some sort of relief. This is not gonna put them together 100%.
Yeah.
But at least they're gonna have some relief, and they're counting on us. And that is a very big responsibility that I know that you and me both, we take very seriously.
And I take it seriously because we're both minorities. We're Latina. And I think that creates some sort of rapport with our clients as well, because they trust us even more, right? It is very frustrating how these cases happen. I mean, we can create a parallelism with Flint, what happened in Flint, Michigan. Also, African American communities, Latino, Hispanic communities were affected by the government's decision to change the water from one place to another, from one source to another, knowing in fact that water was contaminated. Same thing happened in East Chicago. So I take it very seriously. I know you do too. As Hispanic women, as minorities, we feel the need and the responsibility,
it's a very big
of
responsibility.
of representing these communities in a way that dignifies them,
Yes,
to give them a voice. So I think that's important.
Yes. So talking about the litigation, we touched with the human part. What do you think is the strongest tool we have in lawsuits and litigation?
I think lawsuits. I mean, it's something technical, right? It's legal, but I think lawsuits provide that voice that we were talking about. It provides a voice to these communities. They allege their harm, what they've been through, and people like us and Napoli Shkolnik have the capacity and professionalism and expertise to litigate these type of cases. So lawsuits and litigation, like we talked about before, push forward other things like regulation, like awareness, which is very important.
Mm-hmm.
And most importantly, again, they provide a voice for these communities that have suffered harm by negligent corporations, by corporations that acted negligently. And again, textbook environmental justice, because this always happens to communities that have been marginalized, that are minorities, and that's where when we step in, and I think that's very good.
For me, uh, it's you're gonna think it's funny because I always think about this picture of Lady Justice when I
A
work.
little bit of a cliche, Veronica.
Oh,
But
it is
okay.
a cliche for sure, but
Uh-huh.
think about it. Uh, we have regulations, we have policies, state and federal regulations, and even having that, we have these corporations doing whatever they want, contaminating
Yeah.
the environment. So I really feel like we are the counterweight that push them and keeps that way.
Yeah.
Uh, how do
Balanced.
you imbalance? That's
Yeah.
right. So that's what I think about the litigations tool. This is the way and the only way to make corporations accountable, to make them stop doing these negligent acts, to stop contaminating the U.S. Residents
The
and
world residents, for that matter.
world residents. We have seen that
Yeah.
with PFAS. So I think this is another tool that people have, and they have us. I'm so glad that we're working with this, and we have the opportunity to put these corporations in place and fight against them and hold them accountable.
Yeah, the work that we do is great. I mean, I feel passionate for what we do, and I know you do too.
Yeah.
So it's great work that what we're doing, and I feel honored to be part of it. So, Beto, what message do you have for families and for clients?
That's a very interesting question. I will say, speak up. I know what many families that have been a victim of toxical torts are in pain, are damaged. They have all kind of problems. But my recommendation is to speak up, get organized, organize your community, care for your family, for your children, and organize the community and reach out to legal counsels that know about mass torts litigation. For example, I think it's a great resource finding a law firm like ours that works on a contingency basis. I remember when I was a kid thinking about getting harmed in a car accident or something, and I would say, we don't have any money. If that happens, how can my parents pay for attorneys to take this into the court, right? So it is a very good resource and a very good to know that we exist. We are here to help, and we work on a contingency basis. We are gonna cover expert expenses, litigation expenses. We're gonna prepare you. We're gonna accompany you through that pain and through that fine, and we're gonna be here for you. That will be the message I want to leave the families with. What about you?
So I agree. That's a powerful question, right? And I think I agree with you in the power of communities having a voice. There is no small community. There is no small family. Everyone deserves safe, clean water and a safe and clean environment. So I think my message is similar to yours. Um, you have a voice, and we can help you um, shout, and we can help you through this process. If you feel that your community has been done wrong in environmental matters, that you have been negligently exposed to chemicals, speak up. Like you said, organize, and never think that your community is too small, that your problem is too small. We are prepared, and we have the expertise to take on this type of situations, and I think that is important for people to know. I mean, justice is in our hands if you have the the best resources, and we have them. So I think my message to wrap up is that your voice matters, and you have people to back you up.
I'm so happy that we were able to take this conversation out of the office, out of the coffee table,
Yeah.
and brought it to this great set. I'm so happy also to be inaugurating the first episode on this podcast on the docket. How do you feel about it?
I mean, I feel the same. This is something that we talk about almost every day. This is our everyday work, right? So being able to bring it to this podcast has been a great experience, and I hope to do it again soon, right? And to everyone else out there who's been listening, please subscribe to our channel, and so that you can stay up to date on our litigations and what we're doing here at Napoli Connect.